Salutations, YouTube! I've been a busy boy once again. I got the next 5 things in the bank, and I've already got a couple more into the next video already. So we're just trucking along at a super pace this summer. But I'm not sure if I'm going to slow down with the fall coming and the kids coming back to school and me being busier and obviously more tired when I get home. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if the pace slows or not. I hope not, but I'm not a youngman anymore. Not a youngman. So let's get right into it. We got a couple books to start. First up, another one in the Forgotten Realms series called Elminster, The Making of a Mage. So Elminster is an old, wizened wizard who is super powerful and plays into so many of the stories that I've read so far throughout the Forgotten Realms universe. No, he doesn't factor into every story, but he's in a lot of them. So this is kind of like his origin story. So it takes place when he's just a boy. I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere in that range. He's the son of a prince or a king or whatever who rules over a town called Helden. So one day when he's out minding his sheep, some evil wizard on a dragon comes soaring through and kind of captures Elminster and says, "Where's the king down there? And what's his name? And what does he look like? Blah, blah, blah." And Elminster doesn't want to tell him, but he lets it slip that the king is Elthrin, I think his name is, Elminster's father. So the dragon rider thinks he's disposed of Elminster, but Elminster survives. And meanwhile, the wizard and the dragon go and just torch the whole town. Nobody survives. Everybody's dead. Elminster goes down to look at the ruins after all he can salvage is his father's broken sword, which he takes with him. He goes and takes refuge in a nearby cave and eventually runs into a guy named Helm Stonehammer or something like that, who is a knight of Athalantar, which is the lands that Elminster is a prince of, and they are fighting back against the new guy that's ruling the lands, this dragon riding wizard who has taken over. And Elminster's just a kid, so this guy gives him some advice like, don't tell anybody your name, make up a backstory, get away from here, lay low, fall in with some fighters. I can steer you towards a group that would take you, and just tell them Helm sent you, whatever. So the first part of the story is Elminster falling in as kind of a sword for hire, and he gets a little bit older in this, so he's not just a young kid trying to fight. He's a little older, and he becomes quite adept at helping these mercenaries out with their schemes. Although he doesn't really like killing, and the violence makes him kind of nauseous, he finds a place within this group where he can be effective. And so that goes on for quite a while until eventually he feels like moving on. And eventually he moves to a town called, I think, Hestara or something like that, and meets a guy his own age named Farrell. And the two of them strike up a really good friendship. And Farrell is a thief, so Elminster ends up becoming a thief. And they are stealing from all the wealthy entitled people in this town and making their living doing that. Meanwhile, ever since his father and mother's murder and the raising of his village, Elminster has sweared that one day I will destroy all the archmages in the land, and people will not have to live in fear of these maniacs and their magics, right? So that's his end goal. So he falls in with Farrell for quite a while. The thievery goes well, but eventually Elminster's like, if I want to accomplish my ultimate goal, I've got to move on now, and I've got to find out how I'm going to do that. So he leaves Farrell reluctantly, and on his way out of town, he stops by a temple of Mystra. Now, Mystra is the goddess of magic, and while he's in there, he heads in there after hours at night, and I can't remember what he was planning on doing in there, but he gets discovered, and some mages come and are going to deal with him, but suddenly Mystra actually shows up herself and protects Elminster, and she can tell Elminster is worthy of her help. She can tell that his heart is pure, his mission is pure. She agrees with what he's doing with destroying all the evil archmages and stuff. So she grants him some powers and some knowledge, but he's still got a long way to go before he can accomplish his mission. And so Mistra's like, you got to go out across the land, learn all you can about magic, experience all you can, and just grow, basically. So he goes out and does that, but before he does, Mistra turns him into a woman, partially to help him not be identified as Elminster, the lost prince of Athlantar, and also to kind of get a different perspective on things, right? So for a while, he's Elmara now, the woman, and he encounters an elf in the forest, I think named Beryl or something like that, or Barl, and this elf teaches him Elminster as much as he can, and eventually can teach him no more, so Elminster moves on. And so it's just this long kind of sojourn for Elminster to go out and learn all he can about magic, and he suffers defeats, he suffers victories. At the last minute, whenever he is in big trouble, he always seems to be saved at the last minute by Mistra, who's looking out for him. So in the end, he gains enough power that he thinks he can take on all the archmages and free his lands where he grew up of their influence. But he has to go and ask for everybody's help. The elves that helped him out, Helm and all of his warriors, Farl and all of his thieving buddies, and a whole bunch more. So he recruits all these people for one last fight against the archmages. And well, considering I've told you that Elminster the Old Wizard factors into all these other stories, you could probably guess that they are successful in their endeavors to take the fight back to the archmages, most specifically towards the one that kicked all this off in the first place by killing Elminster's parents and burning the village and stuff. So really good story. I was excited for that one because, like I said, he's such a huge character in the Forgotten Realms universe that I always felt it would be cool to know about, how did Elminster come about, Well, now I know, and it was great. Next up, another book in my Xena series, Xena the Warrior Princess, The Thief of Hermes. This was released in 1997, and the story picks up right after the last book, when Xena and Gabrielle were in Athens and they were watching the women's foot races, and they got into that whole thing with the Sphinx. So they're basically coming back to Athens from that adventure, and they end up getting caught up in Athens is kind of falling into disrepair. There's a lot of thieves, there's a lot of bullies and guards that are having their way with the populace, and things are getting bad. And Xena and Gabrielle encounter a little kid that tried to steal from them at the beginning of the last story, and get some information from him. And Xena's like, I don't like this. We got to get out of Athens before something bad happens. But before they can do that, something bad happens. As Xena and Gabrielle are on their way to leave the city and finish their business, a thief named Hilarion comes running through, chased by some guards for having just stolen something, and he kind of tosses his looted goods to Gabrielle, so she's left holding them, and the guards basically are like, you're one of his accomplices, you're going to jail. So Gabrielle and Xena are like, well, we better not fight, we'll find a way out, whatever. So they actually end up going to jail. They're in jail, and the little thief, not the one that set them up, but the little one from earlier, comes by the bars. He's like, I can get you guys out tonight, I know how to do it, I'll get the key, blah blah blah, as long as you bring my mom with you. And his mother's in the cell, and so they go and introduce themselves to her. Her name's Elisabeth or something like that, but she's deaf, so she needs a bit of help in being escaped from this cell. And of course, she didn't really do anything to deserve being thrown into the cell, but that's the way Athens is going, right? So eventually this little thief is able to engineer their exit and their escape from the jail cell. And so Xena's like, okay, thanks, you've paid your debt to us, whatever. Me and Gabrielle are going, but Gabrielle's like, we should probably help these people. So they end up sticking around in Athens and helping out with this situation that's going on. So they gain information from everybody, and basically they found that the king, Theseus, who's a really good king, a fair king who cares about his people and is proactive in helping them. Nobody's seen him for a long time. Things are falling apart since they haven't seen him. So they're like, is he dead? Is he here? Is he sick? Like, nobody knows. So they found out that there's a bunch of guards that are corrupt that have been causing a lot of trouble. They've kidnapped a bunch of people as leverage on some other people so that they will fall in line and provide them with goods and money and whatever. So Xena decides to go and help those people and help them escape from that captivity from these ne'er-do-wells, while Gabrielle and the two young thieves end up going to the castle, sneaking in. So Xena is successful in her job. She gets all the people out of captivity, and she confronts the ne'er-do-well guards and beats the Christ out of them and subdues everything that's going on there. And again, learns more stuff in the process about what's been going on, who's paying these guys, like how everything is working with this corruptness. Meanwhile, Gabrielle and the thieves have infiltrated the castle. They run into Queen Hippolyta, who has just had a baby, and she's like, I haven't seen Theseus. Like, I don't know where my husband is. People just keep saying, like, she just had a baby. It's like, you shouldn't be up yet. You gotta rest. You just had a baby. So they're kind of forcing her into staying in bed and not getting up and checking things out. So everything's really suspect. So eventually, Gabrielle and the queen and the thieves, the little kid thieves, stumble upon Theseus, and they overhear what's going on. There's a guy named Mesmerize, who is hypnotizing Theseus and pretending like, oh, everything's all good, but you're tired, you need to sleep, blah, blah, blah. So they're basically taking Theseus out of ruling the lands, and this guy's like almost attempting to take over by ruling through Theseus, sort of thing. So Gabrielle and Hippolyta confront these guys, and a big kerfuffle ensues, and eventually they win. Theseus is kind of brought out of his stupor, but there's still lots of corrupt guards out there, so they still have a bit of cleaning up to do and a bit of scheming to do to bring Gabrielle and Xena's parties back together and ultimately gain victory over the other guards and corrupt members of this scheme that are still out there in the streets and whatever, looking to cause havoc that they already haven't dealt with when Xena brought in the captives and Gabrielle and Hippolyta dealt with the ones in the castle. So, but of course, eventually they prevail, and all is set right in Athens, or is on the way to be setting right in Athens. So, good book. The Xena books are super easy to read, super fast, super adventuresome. I really like where they've gone, and I really like how like one story leads right into the next. It's like bang, bang, bang. It's just like episode of the TV show, episode. It's they're good reads. They're fun. Next up, we get into some movies. The first one, released this summer. Me and Jimmer went to see it a couple weekends ago, and I was very excited for it. And it is nothing other than Jurassic World, Rebirth. Like I said, movie was released in 2025, the summer of, and this movie was good, but it wasn't great. I kind of don't like the direction they went with it, considering maybe some of the different directions they could have gone in terms of what they did with the dinosaurs. But it starts off with a brief cutscene from 2008 on this research facility on some island, Isles Saint Hubert or something like that, in the Atlantic Ocean, where they're running a lab where they're doing like genome DNA experiments on the dinosaurs and kind of creating mutant hybrids, messing around with the genes. So things go poorly one day, and an abomination known as the Distortus Rex gets the drop on some scientists, escapes, and, well, obviously the facility is no more, and everybody's dead. So, pan to current times, 2025, and which is 3 years after the last movie, Dominion, I think it was, when, you know, the dinosaurs were all free and roaming the lands and whatever. In those ensuing years, the dinosaur population has died off a lot. What happened was the dinosaurs, the environment wasn't conducive to their survival, so a lot of them died off, and those that have survived have all migrated closer to the equator, which is way closer to the environment that they lived in back in the Mesozoic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, all those different periods. So these are now no-fly zones. Like, nobody's allowed to travel there. You stay away. Just let the dinos be in that ring around the world, and, you know, everything's fine. So, a guy named... Oh, shit, now I forget his name. Oh, crap. He works for a pharmaceutical company. He approaches a woman named Zora Bennett, played by Scarlett Johansson, who is, like, a mission leader who specializes in maybe under-the-board kind of stuff, right? Mercenary, search and rescue, blah, blah, blah. You know, anything you can't really hire anybody else to do, she can do for you. So this guy hires her, and then hires a doctor named Henry Loomis, who works at a museum, and specifically in the dinosaur area of it. He has a proposal for them, a mission he's going to pay them handsomely for, to go to the equator and retrieve DNA samples from 3 of the biggest animals out there in terms of the dinosaurs. The reason they're doing that is because the DNA from these dinosaurs has something in it that can make a groundbreaking advancement in treating heart disease. So this is very valuable DNA. It can save a lot of lives and do a lot of good for the world, sort of thing. So Zora needs some talking around to come on board, as does Dr. Henry Loomis. But eventually they're on board, and eventually Zora she recruits a bunch of other team members that she deals with regularly on her missions, and they all get everything set up, and they head out towards the equator. So the 3 animals they need to get samples from are a Mosasaurus, which is the big one that lives under the ocean waves. That was in the original Jurassic World in the aquarium part. A Titanosaurus, which is basically kind of like a Brachiosaurus, that kind of style of dinosaur, but the biggest one there is. And a Quetzalsaurus or something like that. It's a big flying animal, the biggest flying dinosaur. And they need the samples from the biggest dinosaurs because the bigger the better in terms of the sample that they get for treating the heart disease. So that's their mission, is to go and get samples from these 3 animals and then get the fuck out. So obviously they meet with some resistance. The Mosasaurus causes them some problems. The Mosasaurus also causes a family that is out sailing the high seas some problems, which Zora and her crew end up rescuing. It's a guy named Ruben, his 2 daughters, and his older daughter's boyfriend. So they join the crew, which causes a bit of a kerfuffle because they just want to go home. They want to be taken somewhere. They don't see the value in what these guys are doing, confronting the dinosaurs. They really don't like the guy that works for the pharmaceutical company that they think is sus. So that adds a whole nother layer of complication to this mission. And of course, as they reach, after dealing with the Mosasaurus, they encounter some swimming Spinosauruses. They get onto land, they find a T-Rex. So as they go along, they start losing people. You know, people are dropping, as they do in these movies. So from that point onwards, it's just we've lost some people, but if we don't get the samples, what the fuck did we even come for here? Their sacrifices are in vain, sort of thing. So they keep soldiering on until they do get all the samples and eventually exfiltrate the environment, but not before running into that Distortus Rex, which caused all the chaos in that research facility all those years ago, sort of thing. So and so then they get the hell out of there, and then the only thing left is for Zora to make the decision in consultation with Henry Loomis, the doctor, about, do we give the samples back to that pharmaceutical company that hired us to do this, or do we go public with it? Because Loomis was like, if you just give it to the pharmaceutical company, they're going to charge an arm and a leg for it. Not everybody's going to be able to get the medicine, so only the rich people who can afford it will be the ones that benefit from this. Whereas if you go public with it, it'll be public domain, anybody can use it, sort of thing. So it'll reach a lot more people and be a lot more meaningful and effective overall, sort of thing. So that's basically how the movie played out. Now, the reason I said it was good and not great is I love Scarlett Johansson. She was like one of the best parts of the movie. She's just so much fun and so blazingly hot. But I don't like what they did with the dinosaurs. And I understand this is something that could happen. You know, dinosaurs didn't live in the cold back then, so they're not going to survive in the cold now. But it's like this big threat of all these dinosaurs getting out and being among humans, and you know, it was like 3 years later, it was like, oh, they're kind of a joke, right? It's like, yeah, they all died off, they're bitches. Yeah, look at this one running through the city. Yeah, we'll capture him, no problem. Like, the threat of the dinosaurs just became so much of a joke, I felt, in this movie, that it was kind of like, oh, that's kind of a letdown. And then, yeah, and then they went to the, you know, the equator to get all the samples. There was no velociraptors. There was only one brief scene. Well, it was not brief, but it wasn't super long, with the T-Rex. You know, like, I felt like the dinosaurs were kind of made bitches in this movie and were very underrepresented. I thought there could have been a lot more of them. So, yeah, I just didn't kind of like the direction they went with the movie. I thought after Dominion, it would have been awesome if the dinosaurs were flourishing, and, you know, society would have had to adjust and, like, put walls around their cities, kind of like Twisted Metal, that series, where all these cities have these big walls and all the bandits are on the outside, you know, causing chaos, and, you know, safe zones kind of thing, you know, and something with that. But they just made the dinosaurs into such bitches that I was kind of disappointed with it. But it is what it is. Still a good movie, just not a great movie. Next up, been looking forward to seeing this one for quite a while. Venom, The Last Dance, released in 2024. This is The Last Dance. Venom dies in this movie. It's quite sad. So, after the events of the last Venom movies and some of the other ones, like the Doctor Strange and whatever, with all the dimension hopping and whatever, after the fallout of all of that, Eddie Brock and Venom are on the lam. They're hiding in Mexico after being blamed for the murder of a guy named Patrick Mulligan, and they're just trying to survive and not get caught by the cops, and you know, and be free, sort of thing. But eventually Eddie decides, we got to clear our name, and the only way to do that is to get to New York and hash it out, sort of thing. So they end up starting to make their way to New York, but before they get too far, some cameras pick up Eddie's face on the CCTV, and the authorities are noted, so they're scrambled to go and intercept Eddie and Venom. So in the meantime, Eddie and Venom have started making their way to New York. They eventually meet up with a family, a hippie family. I forget the guy's name, but they're on their way to Vegas. They're like alien freaks, and they're going to Area 51 because Area 51 is in the process of being decommissioned. So, and I think Eddie and Venom, they get chased towards this family at one point. Rex Strickland, I think, is the guy that works at Area 51 that gets the notification that Eddie's on the loose, and they found his whereabouts and scrambles his troops to go after him. So after a bit of a chase scene and whatever, Venom and Eddie get free from those pursuers and come upon this family who offers him a ride to at least as far as Vegas in their, you know, camper van or whatever it is. In the meantime, at Area 51, like I said, it's in the process of being shut down. So there's a couple of doctors, Teddy and, I forget the other girl's name, that are dealing with, they've got symbiotes in captivity, and they're studying them and dealing with them, trying to figure out why they're here, where they came from, what their purpose is, if they're dangerous or not. But this Rex Strickland guy is like, no, they're dangerous. They should be eradicated. And that's what I'm going to do to Venom, sort of thing. So, but the female scientists have a whole different opinion than Rex does, sort of thing. So they're a little bit at odds there. So eventually Eddie gets confronted again in Vegas. And I think at one point he actually gets captured and separated from Venom. But there's another threat out there that they don't really know about yet, and it makes itself present after they take Eddie and Venom in captivity in Area 51 in Vegas. And these things are called the autophage or something like that. So they're these weird dog-like monster creature things that are really big, and they're coming after Venom. they're serving a master. I forget his name. He's stuck in some dimension. He was captured there and put there a long time ago because he's a bad dude. But he's trying to break free, and the only way to do so is the Venom symbiote carries some sort of a key on him or something like that, a codex or something like that. That once destroyed, will help this guy be free from captivity. So these autophage animals, freak monsters, are coming after Venom and trying to kill him and destroy that codex sort of thing. So they've been kind of searching after him the whole time, but they finally find him in Vegas. So this helps to cause a distraction in a way, because it allows Eddie and Venom to escape and be reunited and then take the fight to these autophages. So the finale of the movie takes place at Area 51, and it's got, you know, Strickland and his army goons versus like Venom and Eddie and that family that helped them get to Vegas on another side of it, and then of course these monsters that are trying to kill Venom on the third side of it. So it just culminates in this big crazy battle at Area 51, and like I said, unfortunately, the poor Venom symbiote meets his maker in this one, and yeah, it was actually quite sad. And like I saw, it was called The Last Dance, but I guess I should have read into the title, eh? Yeah, well, it is what it is. Last up. Oh, great movie, by the way, and it was last year, 2024, and it was excellent. All the Venom movies have been excellent so far. I really love the interplay between Eddie and the Venom character, like when it's talking in his head and telling him what to do, and they're arguing and stuff. It's such a funny little relationship they have, and it's just cause for a ton of laughs during these movies. And that's the way Marvel and Disney should be treating humor in these Marvel movies. It's only applicable to certain characters. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy obviously are a funny group. Deadpool is a sick, twisted, evil, hilarious, amazing character. He's not evil, he's just different. And the relationship between Venom and Eddie is a funny little thing. But not everybody's funny. Thor is not funny. Thor is the god of thunder who doesn't deal with humans. He doesn't have this weird sense of humor that all of a sudden in one of the movies he developed. Like, Disney needs to slow their roll and learn their place. But the Venom movie, fantastic. Although, that being said, Venom's not even Disney. It's still Sony. Or it was on this one anyway. So again, Sony knows how to do it. Take a lesson, Disney. Last up, a TV show. Season 1, episodes 11 to 26 of Transformers EarthSpark. I got this second batch of episodes because I wanted to see the season through. When it had the Terran Transformers in the first batch of episodes come into being and then do the whole, I don't know what I identify with. It's like they're shoving this trans identity, don't know what I am agenda down little kids' throats with these shows, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it in general. But now they're bringing it into all these kids shows and stuff. It's like, would you just fucking stop and let kids be kids? Like, so I was like really hesitant on getting this second batch of episodes, but I'm like, I watched the first 10. I may as well get the last half of the season and just see how it goes. It was a little better. It wasn't quite as pushy as it was in those first 10 episodes, but still, the seed of distaste had been placed there. And again, I will clarify for anybody who gets pissed off at me for my beliefs, but I don't care what people do. I don't give a shit about people's sexuality. I don't give a shit about what people choose to do for hobbies. I don't give a shit what people choose to wear. If you're a dude who wants to wear a dress, have at it. Own it. But the whole thing about don't know what I identify as. I'm a woman who identifies as a man. No, you don't. Because you don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I never will. And it would be presumptuous for me to say I identify as one because I don't know. So again, I don't care. If you're a dude who just really likes women and likes how they dress and that's what you want to do, go for it. Just don't with the whole I identify as, you have to call me this. Oh, this guy didn't do that, so now I'm going to cause a big stink. Like, get over it, right? Just live your life how you want to live. People don't have to buy into all of this stuff that goes on around it. And that's what I don't agree with. And I don't agree with studios like this putting it into their programming for young kids and putting those seeds in their mind at such an early age. Just allow kids to grow the fuck up as kids are supposed to do, you know? Let them come to their own conclusions and their own thoughts and feelings. Don't be putting this stuff in their mind, you know? So that leaves a real bad taste in my mouth. But yeah, I don't care what people do. As long as you're not harming other people or harming their shit and causing them any sort of other problems like that, do whatever you want. Good for you. It's what I do, right? So, but yeah, this whole agenda, and Disney's really bad for it with all their woke nonsense. But although I've watched a lot of videos now, then now they're feeling the pinch because, you know, they've been telling their male audiences for years now, we don't want you, we don't need you. There's all these like super amazing women heroes and stuff now, and you guys are no longer needed. It's like, okay, we'll stop watching your stupid drivel. And now they're like, oh, come back, oh, we're losing money, right? So it's kind of funny, you know, things like this always fizzle out in the end when they have these stupid agendas and stuff. But I was hoping it would happen sooner, because in the meantime, I never thought I would ever think this in my life, but they've ruined both Star Wars and Marvel in the process, and that's just sad because Star Wars is the best franchise of all time, but you can't trust the last, I don't know, decade of material that they've released. Some of it's been good, some of it not so good, you know, and the fact that they're just pushing these agendas and stuff makes me not want to watch any of it at all. So not that that's going to happen because I'm just so Star Wars entrenched, I can't, but there has been some stuff that I haven't watched and I'm never going to based on what I've heard. So I'm starting to be at least a little bit selective and not blanket watch everything, right? Because I don't agree with what they've done, and they really need to make some changes, and especially get rid of that Kathleen Kennedy bitch. She's just ruined a whole bunch of stuff, but you know, that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about EarthSpark. So, and these last, I don't know, 15 episodes of season 1, which aired kind of in early 2023. It starts with a couple of the newer Terrans that were birthed from that well or whatever it is that they found, looking to find their identity in terms of their alt modes, and hashtag finds hers, but Jawbreaker can't really seem to find his, so he goes on kind of a mission to find that out. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. Ghost, the outfit that's kind of policing the Transformers, seems to be going rogue, and they're no longer making that distinction between Autobots and Decepticons. They just want to take down all Transformers. And that weird doctor, I forget his name, with the robot arms, that's kind of working with Ghost. He's got all these schemes for bringing the Transformers down, and he's really causing a lot of trouble. And then we have other things going on, like Megatron explaining to the kids about the battle that turned him from a Decepticon into an Autobot, but all the people they lost along the way. Shockwave comes around, and he's got a beef to settle with Megatron before that misunderstanding gets sorted out. Bumblebee goes on a mission to find Grimlock, who's lost somewhere, and but Grimlock has some, I don't know, some PTSD and some readjusting to do after being, you know, freed by Bumblebee. So there's all these different things going on, and in the whole time, the kids, the Molto kids, they have these sleeves that have formed to them that are Terran technology, and that have kind of linked them with the Terrans. At one point, I forget the kid's name. Shit, is it Darius? No. But anyway, the two siblings, the older brother, and they end up running into some creature that is lurking below the surface of their town, and in the process of trying to defeat this thing, Darius, or no, what is his name? I think I'm thinking Darius from Camp Cretaceous, because they kind of look alike in these cartoons. Shit. Whatever. But he ends up getting sick. Something happens to him battling this thing in with his cyber sleeve. But eventually they sort him out and whatever. And so at the end of the first season, there's kind of one last battle where I forget the agent from Ghost, the girl. I forget her name. She makes a final play to bring down all the Transformers and get the Multos all captured and dealt with as well, because she knows they've been aiding the Autobots and the Terrans and stuff like that. So it's up to the young new Terrans, Optimus Prime and his charges, and the Multo family to repel this threat from Ghost and this crazy madman scientist, and save them all from being deactivated, imprisoned, whatever's going to happen if Ghost does end up winning, and that's how the season ends. And of course, you probably know the way it ends because it's a kids' cartoon. The bad guys can't possibly win, right? So yeah. So that is what I've been up to lately. The books were both very good. Jurassic World was good, not great. Venom was an awesome movie. And EarthSpark, well, you heard my thoughts on what's going on EarthSpark, but it's a Transformers property, so I had to give it a try. And, for all the bad that's in it, there's still a lot of good, so it is still worth watching. But again, stop it with the agendas. Stop it. Anyways, I'll be back soon with another 5 things, and hopefully I won't be talking about agendas anymore. We'll see. Peace.
Meow.